Hi, everyone. Sorry we're getting a little bit of a late start today. We're just having some technical issues with Zoom on the panelist end. So just hold off for just a second. We're gonna just mute ourselves. We're waiting for our fabulous panelist, Sheena, to join us. So you can watch Jessica and I like check our email and stuff until, until that starts. But so just give us a couple of minutes, grab yourself a coffee, glass of water, whatever you need to do, and we will be with you momentarily. Thanks for your patience. All right, Jessica, I think we should just get started. Does that work for you? And we'll just wait for Sheena will join us when she can. You gotta love technology. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm using Zoom 24/7 and there's always some weird glitchy thing that happens. Maybe I'll try Microsoft Teams next, or I don't know, Google Hangouts next. We'll have to like play with the different formats. But
see which one works.
Thank you for joining me on this Friday. It's so good to see you. So for all of you that are here joining us as attendees, Jessica, hi Sheena, oh you're here, yay, she's here. Okay, Jessica Estrada is one of the most extraordinary tax professionals I have had the pleasure of knowing and working with. She has, I'll let her tell you a little bit more about her career, but she has worked in a big accounting firm and now she is with a partner serving clients throughout Southern California and all kinds of tax planning and tax advisory and preparation matters. And she's just one of those people that I can call and be like, girl, I have this issue, what do you think? And she will give me just the best practical advice. And she's also a wonderful human, a mother, a wife, a CrossFitter, just an incredible woman. And I'm so glad that she's joining us today. And Sheena, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can. I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Sheena Sahni is with Westpac Wealth Partners. I got that right, yes. I'm always afraid I'm gonna mess up the firm names. Holler if you hear me out there. And Sheena, much like Jessica, has been an incredible advisor to me and to so many business owners and individuals that I know, just about all matters related to financial focus and how to appropriately protect yourself and protect your wealth and build your wealth. And she takes a really practical approach to all of those things. Spends time on Wall Street. She's a New Yorker, and she looks like all New Yorkers I know, looks fabulous in like a black outfit and some sassy jewelry. So you're totally on brand today with your fabulous look, Sheena. And as I mentioned on the last couple of these little talks that we're doing on Friday, first of all, I'm Holly and Maya, and together with Anne-Marie Hoftailing, I have a company called Story and Printing, so that's out there. For those of you who don't know me, we've been looking for ways to really serve the business community and to serve what I think is a really, unique need for content, for really relatable content, for conversational content during this very weird time that we're all living in with coronavirus. I think when all of this started, when shelter in place started a couple months ago, none of us really expected, well, maybe you did, but I certainly didn't think that we would be, here 3 months down the road, still doing the things that we're doing and not being able to interact with folks in person. I am very gregarious. I like to talk, you might have noticed. I love being around people. So for me, this has been sort of a unique kind of pain point, not being able to interface with people one-on-one and to do trainings one-on-one. But what we've noticed is that people really they're responding to this format of, bringing in experts, talking about issues that are really topical and really relatable, and giving our audience, all of you, the ability to ask questions in real time. Like, I don't want this to feel like a really stilted webinar. We've all been on lots of stilted webinars, I'm sure, over the last couple of months, and before that, frankly. And so I want all of you who are here to feel really comfortable asking questions. Just use the chat feature. You can use the Q&A. I don't care how you can use a carrier pigeon. I don't know if it'll get here in time, but whatever you want to do to ask questions of me or of the panelists, please do that. So ladies, thank you again for spending part of your Friday with us. Obviously, this is a really, goes without saying, unique time, the markets, unique time for small business owners. There's a lot of uncertainty, no matter if you're a W-2 employee or 1099, or you've got your own company, or you're launching your own company, or whatever, you're raising capital. There's just a lot of uncertainty out there, a lot of anxiety. I want to delve a little bit into that, into how you guys are servicing your clients, and the types of advice you're giving them to sort of maintain their calm in these stormy waters. But before we do that, can you just give a brief overview of who you are? I gave kind of like the typical introduction, but who you are, what you do, and why you love what you do. And Jess, we can start with you.
Okay. I'm Jessica, obviously. I am tax partner at PacWest Accounting. I have wanted to be an accountant since I was 12 years old. And
really?
Yeah.
I don't even think I knew what an accountant was at 12, so.
Well, my dad and my mom were entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
My dad, before he owned his own businesses, he was the controller of the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, worked his way up from bellhop to the controller of hotels.
Really?
He was there when Pretty Woman was filmed.
Oh, I did not know this. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And then my mom moved to Arizona, Tucson, to open the Lowe's Santana Canyon in Arizona. And so he was a controller of that hotel. And I was the first baby born to a controller to that hotel. And so my dad was like suits, clean shaven. He was a biker though. I've been in 49 states on
like a biker
motorcycle.
or like a crew? Okay.
Like a Harley. Yeah. So we traveled the country as a child. I've been in 49 states on a Harley. It was a sidecar, brought a cat home one time in the sidecar. It was great. But my dad decided, I think after when I was under 5, he decided to go and actually pursue his dream of he owned a restaurant and a biker bar and left corporate America. And so he was home a lot. He would do his books and his, everything. And so he had his 10 key and he would just be on his 10 key at night working away. My mom had an insurance company. She worked from home, but I was mesmerized by his 10 key. And I was like, I want to do whatever that job is. He's like, well, it's accounting. I was like, well,
screw the Harley. Tell me about that.
Tell me about that 10 key. And yeah, so I never changed. I went to college, knew I was going to be an accountant. Went to San Diego State. And Deloitte recruits heavy out of college there. And I started an internship in my last semester and left and went right into Deloitte and worked there for 12 years, more in the internet.
Wow, that's a long time in a big accounting firm.
Yeah, and I wanted to be an accountant because my dad was a controller of hotels. Initially, I wanted to go into hospitality. So hotel realm, and then Deloitte got me quickly, and I never left the tax side.
That's what happens when you're good. They're like, you don't get to leave and do anything.
You don't get to leave, yeah. So I lasted 12 years and I learned a lot. They're a phenomenal company. I have lots of great things to say about them. But, just when you're working for corporate America and the clients you're working with, I'm not helping I didn't feel like there was a relationship where I was really genuinely helping people. And so I met my business partner and she has an outsourced CFO company and a tax practice. And she's like, come on, take over the tax practice. We'll be 50-50 partners. We'll separate that out and run with it, do what you can. And I left in 2018, just finished, we're in our 3rd tax season that is extending and never ending.
Yeah, right. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. And yeah, we've more than doubled the business, tripled the business in just that short time. And I love it. My old boss and I had coffee last year. He's like, so you want to come back, right? I was like, oh God, no. No.
No.
I was like, I actually help people and I actually make a difference in lives. And I actually have a lot more relationships and I love it. I love what I do. I love helping clients. A lot of tax planning goes into it and that's the fun part.
Yeah.
So I still have my 10 key that my dad had, but that's my story.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Sheena, tell us about yourself. Like, why do you do what you do?
I was raised in New York, and my father was a banker and my mother was in the medical field. So Indian children in the 80s and 90s were expected to be either doctors, engineers, or a lawyer. And I chose
Right.
not to be any one of those three in college. I was pursuing degrees in philosophy. I wanted to be a philosopher, maybe teach, write.
I did not know this about you.
And so my father came home one day and he said, you know, he wasn't happy with, he goes, what are you going to do with philosophy? What exactly is your intention? And he came home one day and he said, you know, they're making $120,000 on Wall Street. Why don't you go and become a stockbroker? And it was almost as if he dared me because I wanted him to know if I wanted to do something, I could. Hold on. Anyway, so one day in May, you know how we have summer break, I applied for all these jobs on Wall Street, went in and I took all the interviews. I got offered all these jobs and I took this one particular one because the person who was the vice president spoke to me. And next thing you know it, I took all my exams and I ended up on Wall Street, working on Main Street, and then became Rookie of the Year the first year. It was thrilling. You got up. It was never boring. People gave you money. At those days, we were cold calling. It was really Wall Street movie type. And we were cold calling. And it was thrilling to me because even though it wasn't a 9 to 5, it was like 12 hours, 6 days a week type of building my business. It was thrilling because no second was dull. It never is. And then from there, I did stockbrokering for about 8 years, 4 years in New York, 4 years here in San Diego. And I decided that it wasn't enough for me to just invest, trade for clients. I wanted to be more hands-on. I wanted to see more. And so I became a traditional advisor where I really managed the assets and the liabilities. But even that wasn't fulfilling because I knew that my clients needed more of a holistic approach. And even though I was doing that at my firm Prudential at the time for 12 years, it wasn't enough for me. So I decided, actually I had an early midlife crisis and decided to take 6 months off, which ended up being almost 2 years, during which I really wanted to contemplate, because remember, my father dared me to go to Wall Street.
Right.
I didn't choose it. I decided I really loved what I did, but this time I was going to go in and do it my way, which was very, very holistic in view. And so now what I do is I practice modern planning, where I look at everything of a client's, not just portions of it.
Well, and you're a certified exit planner. What does that mean?
So a certified exit planner actually works with businesses, and we take them through the whole business cycle. And inherent in the certified exit planning is also personal planning. So there's estate planning, there's retirement planning, there's buy, selling, transaction. It's the whole implementation. How do you take a company from a startup, build it up so that they can do whatever it is they want to do at the end of the business cycle, whether it's transfer it, whether it's sell it, whether it's, whatever their goals are. So I take them through the whole thing. I decided to do this certified exit planning because it was a lot more in depth. It took a lot more into it. So work with professionals like Jessica here and help my clients through the whole process.
So, what kinds of problems, this is actually probably a two-phased question. Tell us a little bit about the types of problems you typically help your clients solve. And what problems are you helping them solve now, right? Because we've had this very precipitous sort of shift in what's going on in the economy. So how typically, what do you do, and kind of how has that changed since COVID?
So typically what I do is a person comes to me and they basically have no idea what they're doing. They have pockets in every single segment of their finances, 401k here, maybe an old 401k there. They have bank accounts. They have things all over, but they don't understand how it actually comes together.
Right.
So I go from a client, 20s onwards through the whole gamut of first of all, accumulation, protection, wealth accumulation, and then of course retirement, which is income distribution, basically. So one of the first things I do when I sit down with somebody is try to understand what exactly is their why. I mean, ultimately, my why is actually helping someone navigate this whole thing and as clearly as possible, take as much of their stress, financial stress off as possible. So we go through the whole situation and understanding there's 4 domains in there, and the 4 domains are as such protection. And in protection, you've got health insurance, life insurance, trust work that attorneys do, wills and trusts. You've got car insurance, home insurance, umbrella insurance, business insurances, everything. In the assets, you've got banks, real estate, you've got the business, you've got retirement accounts and liabilities, short and long-term liabilities, embedded taxes, etc. And the last domain is actually cash flow. That's what I think I do. I'm a manager of cash flow. And what that means is I am trying to be efficient for my clients. I'm trying to find all the lost dollars and fees and taxes and reallocate them according to the goals that they've provided me. So it's quite thorough. And in there, I work with a mortgage broker. I work with the real estate agents, attorneys, et cetera, as a team. We're part of
it. It seems like a very relationship-based business. I mean, it seems.
It is. And I like it this way because here's the problem most people come to me with. Like I said, they're all over the place. There's no organization. One part of their financial life does not speak to the other. And so, and they are not, they're very rate of return driven. And I believe that modern planning is not a rate of return conversation. It is first to protect that which you have. And so that you can grow that which you need in order to do that which you want to accomplish in your life goals. So it's a process. And so the whole portion of this is organization. Everything has to speak to a whole strategy.
Right.
People have products. They don't have strategies. And strategy.
I'm like sweating because like that resonates. I've been there,
But a product does not get you to a goal.
Right.
The strategy gets you there. So when times like this happen, where there's a lot of volatility, your rate of return strategy, if you want to call it a strategy, will not help you because it's all about risk. There's no balance of any sort.
Right.
People might be too heavily in real estate. They may be too heavily in investments. They may be too heavily in one portion of an asset class. And that does not get you to the end goal because times like this really bring a lot of stress. So one of the first things I like to do is sit down with everybody and understand what they have. And then I like to I identify the gaps once they've identified what they would like to achieve. And then once we've identified the gaps in their goals, we come up with strategies and we back test them for exactly these scenarios.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you just made me think of something. I mean, so growing up, like we didn't have a lot of money, and my parents were in blue collar jobs, not saving, not able to save for retirement. We just didn't have a lot. And I think when you grow up that way, even if you go to college, you're making a lot of money, there's always, and I'm speaking from completely personal experience, like there's always this thought of like, well, I don't need to work with a wealth advisor because I'm not wealthy. I don't, I'm doing the best I can. I have a house, I have some assets, but do you encounter that a lot? Like sort of these myths people tell themselves about like, well, there's no way that I would need to do that because I don't have that much, or I'm making X a year, I'm not making, 4 times that. Like, do you find that there are some misconceptions out there about,
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's a certain type of a clientele that will not pay for value, and that's what we all provide. I mean, I like to say, look, if you have a heart problem, are you going to go to the cardiologist and tell the cardiologist, please take this valve out and do this and that? No, I mean, that's why
Google said so.
Yeah, well, you Google it at WebMD and they tell you. The issue is that there is a lot of value to finding the right fit of an advisor for you, whatever sort of advisor, attorney, whatever. And you have to value that they will come up with that. Also, if somebody doesn't provide you value, then why would you use them? Everybody out there makes money. It's just some of it's upfront and some of it's in the back end.
Yeah.
And again, not everybody is meant to work with someone like myself, and that's perfectly fine. Just know that you may not know everything you need to know about your money, and that, you know, seek people that you want to value. One of the things I've learned is the biggest mistakes people make is they're not organized. They go and they Google things and they buy the newest, hottest product, but life insurance, asset class, whatever, and they tend to fail because there's no back tested. And the third is that they don't ask for help when they need it.
Well, they're embarrassed.
Yeah, they're embarrassed. The three most successful people I found, the three qualities, traits in successful people is typically they own a property or many properties. They actually have value advice. You know, it's like the adage of being on the golf course where they would go back and then call up the stockbroker or the CPA or the attorney and say, let's do X, Y, Z, make money. And the third is really that they own a business of some sort. But if you don't want to own a business, that's fine. Do the other two. Surround yourself with people like Jessica and yourself who can get you to the promised land with value-added advice.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead, Jess.
Well, and you also want to have a team. So I don't work 100% on my own. I have someone like Sheena come in and we work together, especially with business exit strategy. There's a tax piece to that. And a lot of people start a business, like, I want to do business. I want to do this. It's like, great, but what's your long-term plan? What do you want to do with the business? And that's where Sheena's talking about the exit plan. And then if you set up businesses a certain way from a tax strategy, there's just all kinds of pieces.
Yeah, help me understand a little bit more how the two of you, because I know that you work together and share clients or refer business to one another. How does that work? Like, what kinds of things are you helping individuals or small business owners? What kinds of problems are you tackling?
Jessica, you want to start?
Yeah, I would say one of the first things I ask for a new client is, who do you work with? Who handles your finances? Who do you work with? And if they say nobody, or they're like, oh, you know, I call 1-800 number. I'm like, oh gosh, no one's managing your money. No, you know, you have assets, or I have 1K with this company. I haven't moved it. I have it over here. And that's where I'm like, okay, you need to bring somebody in-house and talk to them. And a lot of people, you know, they hear horror stories. So it's, you know, obviously looping them in with the right person like Sheena. Or they want to sell a home or do a 1031 exchange, or they're looking to sell this. And that's where Sheena and I come hand in hand too on that piece. Because also what she's doing affects the tax side. So we want to make sure she knows what's happening that year from a tax perspective to plan accordingly, so it's not a huge tax bill. Because there's
I'll give you an example. One of my clients inherited a significant amount of money, over $1 million from her family. And now there's embedded taxes in there, even though there was a step up. Well, if she just willy-nilly goes and sells it, and because there's no strategy, it's literally invested in the market. And she's, 81 years of age. Having said that, what happens is that if I go and sell things, she gets a massive tax liability for that year. So one of the strategies is I work with someone like a Jessica, and I sit there and I go, look, what if we do, liquidate and go into the appropriate strategy over 4 years or 3 years, or, now there's losses. If there's losses in the portfolio,
use the loss offset.
Yeah. So someone like Jessica is integral to what I do, because we have to be efficient. There's smart ways of doing everything. And the two of us, along with whoever else is on the team, we tag team and we understand what the client doesn't need to understand. We just need to provide options for.
You can try to have the client understand what the client, most clients don't want to. They hear taxes and it's just like instant
shield. Like, oh my God.
And it's just no one likes taxes, and no one really likes to think about finances because you're in the here and now and you just want to spend all your money. But you have to think the long term, and like what Sheena says, planning. If you are self-employed or you own your own business, what's your insurance? What do you have set up to protect you if you do get sick and you can't work.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure for both of you, I mean, I'm sure the last couple of months you've seen sort of the proverbial chickens of coming home to roost, like where people haven't maybe done a lot of this planning and then they call you in crisis. Like I see this just with my background in PR. I've had so many clients come in because they're in a crisis and like where every minute counts, you know, and they'll be like, oh my God, I need you to like quickly get up to speed on everything and draft this statement and do this. And you're like, whoa, I wish I would have known you like 6 months ago, a year ago, right? You do the work, of course, but I think there's so much to be said for kind of like laying the groundwork and working with a trusted advisor, you know, so that when we do experience some real fluctuations in the market, you have someone that you can trust who's like got this long-term strategy. So my question to both of you would be, you know, were you getting a lot of those calls like March 15th, March 16th, March 17th, when everything kind of started, the chips started falling with shelter in place? Were your phones ringing off the hook, like with questions? And PPP, Jess, for you, I mean, same deal.
Yeah, PPP, that's a perfect example is so many clients didn't have payroll set up in 2019. And that's what they're basing PPP on,
right?
2019. Clients like, oh, I'll set it up now. And I'm like, you can't get it now because you should have planned and had it done last year. And it's just this whole, well, I want to do it now. Well, it's too late. You know, you missed the boat on that. So what are the other options? Right. PPP is just a fun one, I guess you can say.
We'll get to that. Yeah. Because I have some
They used to know what they were
questions.
doing. Money ran out. Everything was gone. Then they, and now is it going to be forgiven or will it not be forgiven? What is it going to now be extended? There's just every day the goalpost keeps moving further and further. It's constantly changing.
I know. And this is where, I mean, again, like speaking from personal experience, this is where working with a really great tax professional is really helpful. Because I know that you're on the phone with your clients all the time, helping them navigate. And I think everybody, to your point, is kind of like we're learning as we go because the guidance keeps changing. So, you know, but it's just helpful to have somebody sort of on your team, on your roster that you know that you can call and say, do you have any insight on this? Sheena, what about you? Were you just, I have to imagine that because the market has fluctuated so wildly over the last couple of months that we had been on such an extended period of growth that you had to have been just completely inundated. So how was that for you?
No, I am one of the loneliest financial advisors out there. I'll tell you why. Like I said, we do strategies, we don't do products. And so I always knew, and by the way, I've been in the market doing this for almost 26 years in October. So I saw the 2001, 2, and 3, and I saw 2007, 8. I even saw the recession of 1996, which I was very young in, you know, as an advisor during. So having said that, the probability was higher that there was going to be volatility. What that looked like, nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. So my particular clients did not call me. I actually called them to say, hey, if the market goes here, this is what we're going to do. If this is what happens, that's what we're going to do. But they weren't the ones contacting me. And the people that I was in the middle of, a lot of them became paralyzed because now all of a sudden there's so much uncertainty, which is one of the best times to be able to do anything in is during volatility and uncertainty. You have to do the opposite of the herd. When the herd goes one direction, we should be looking for food in the other.
I like that.
You know, likewise, if the market is going up, then we should start thinking about protection or make sure we have protections in place. One of the best things about this situation was I saw for the third time in my career what really is true, and that is having people on your team like Jessica Jessica and a good attorney, business attorney. These are the people that my clients were calling because they were the ones that were the most successful. These were the people contacting them and saying, go and get your PPP, go and do the SBA loan. And so in communication with them, we were able to devise what that looked like. So that was a lot of the calls I was doing were my business clients or clients that were, you know, getting laid off or their incomes were being reduced. We were coming up with strategies of how to navigate through this uncertainty. But having a person like Jessica, an attorney, what that did for people, they got into the PPP, SBA at an earlier time. They knew which avenues to go, which were working for people successfully, and were able to navigate them before the pools of monies dried up.
That's right. And I have to say, like, you know, when I first went out on my own almost 7 years ago, I was like, I don't need to hire anybody. I'm going to do my own taxes. I was terrible. Please do not be me. It's a terrible idea. And I was really loosey-goosey about everything. And over time realized the tremendous value of, you know, just as I charge for my expertise and my services and all the years that I've been doing what I do, like people like you do the same. And it's because you provide incredible value in an area that I frankly know nothing about. Like, what was I thinking trying to do my own taxes? And so, you know, I saw that personally as a couple of months ago as everything was changing. Like, I had advisors that could say, like, this is what you were making, this is what we're forecasting, here is exactly what you should, you know, here are the avenues that you can go walk down, and here are the potential outcomes. Like, that is so worth, I would pay, I say all the time, like, I'd pay whatever you want to charge me, like, I'll pay, because that is such, that peace of mind and also the expertise is so huge. Lydia, who's attending, hi Lydia, just said, as a client, Sheena called me and said, want to make sure you're not worried. And I said, I don't worry because you're handling it, because she has a plan, which I totally love. Thank you for sharing that. And that's true. Like, that's what you want. I mean, what kinds of things can people be doing right now to sort of calm themselves, set or correct their financial course? Like, what, just some basic advice in terms of what they should be worrying about and what, you know, they shouldn't worry about.
So the thing, what this has done, and we're actually going back into active mode again, into work. You know, we were working from home. There was a little bit of downtime because you could only work so many hours in a day. But one of the things I realized that this allowed, even for me, some of the things that we could never get to on a day-to-day basis. So I happen to do finance. So obviously, I'm hoping that you all would believe that my financial wheelhouse was set. But I had to do other things. So for those people who never had the time, you're working moms or people working many, many hours, my suggestion is while we still are slower paced in our day-to-day lives, sit down. Think about what you have done for yourself in whatever part of your life that needs work on, what you haven't, who you need to bring in. You need to come up with some sort of a plan, prioritize, but you also need to be very positive. It's not too late. One step at a time is better than no step at all in whatever avenue that you need to work on in your lives. You know, I had some organizational stuff I had to do in the house, some projects in the house that we've been doing on the weekends. But for each of us, having a plan, it's not at any time, it's not at any asset value. You should know, where are you headed towards? What would you like to accomplish? And have a why to it and an end goal to it. Just like a business has a cycle, we should have a cycle, whether it be our career, whether it be our month. What is it that we're trying to accomplish, whether it be our finances, that by X, Y, Z, at this age, I'd like to have accomplished this.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Jess, what do you think?
I think we are all focusing on day to day. I think that every day is changing. You're learning something new every day. And I think a lot of the impact of what's going on now, we're going to see long term, 6 months to a year is when you're really going to see some impact. So it's planning now. I have some clients that are making a lot more money. Like this has actually grown their business because they're needed more. They're in the technology field, right? And then I have some clients who aren't. They're losing clients left and right. But the clients that are growing, we have to plan from a tax perspective. What do we need to be doing to limit your tax liability? And the clients that are struggling, where can we do a cash flow? You know, we do the cash flow analysis. Okay, these are areas you can cut back to plan if things don't come back, how you survive and come out of this, you know, and your business lasts. And you're not one of the businesses that's going to have to shut down. So we're doing that whole tax planning piece. There's a lot of loans out there, and there's a lot, like the PPP, everyone hears about the PPP and whether or not it's going to be forgiven and all those. I mean, we could talk about that forever. And every day it's changing. Like the House and the Senate are trying to vote on increasing the 8-week window to 16 weeks. And instead of having 75%, cutting it for payroll 60%. Because the other issue a lot of our clients are having is they are actually not getting, they can't open. Hair salons are just now allowed to open. 4 weeks ago, they couldn't use it. And so it's figuring that piece out. And then SBA is starting to come through. A lot of our clients are getting the SBA loans. And should our clients that don't need it right now, they're like, I don't need it. I'm like, today you don't need it, but a year from now or 6 months you may need it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it is something you take a low interest loan, you set it aside, put it in a savings account for a rainy day. If you don't need it, you pay it back at the end with some interest. At least you had it if you needed it.
Yeah. I think that's a
part of
really
it.
good point if we could pause there, because a couple of issues just in my like sort of anecdotal experience, working with people, you know, who are small business owners and knowing people who are small business owners. I think for a lot of particularly women that I know who own businesses, they were very reluctant to take out any kind of loan whatsoever. And I know there's we have a friend who's on the line who's talked a lot about this, Dan, hi. You know, women are less likely, you know, to invest in their businesses, to take out capital, to grow their businesses. And that's something that I would love, Dan, to have you on and talk about in greater depth, because I know you're passionate about it. I think that's one thing. And I think for a lot of, you know, folks who are consultants or who are like in professional services, frankly, much like me, you know, the business is like a contract could go away with like 30 days notice or sometimes less, right? If your end customer goes BK or they cease doing business, like they will think nothing of axing your contract. That's just the way that it goes. And so while, you know, you might not need the money right this second, I heard this from so many people, you know, but what if I do in a month or 2 months, you know? And I'm just curious, does that resonate with you? Were you hearing that from clients, particularly when it comes to kind of like solos or service providers?
Yeah. A lot of clients don't want to take it. They're like, I don't need it. And it's just talking through and actually doing the analysis. Maybe you don't need it all. Maybe you take some of it, because today is fine. But like you said, for me, if you think about it, my clients are fine right now. But if my clients in 6 months aren't fine, can't pay my fees, and now,
right.
You know, you have to plan for that. But at the same time, I also, I understand taking loans, because a lot of people don't have loans and a lot of people don't want to add debt, and it's scary. It's like, oh my gosh. But also there's a lot of people taking it and then not being responsible with it. Not PPP correctly. You can get the PPP, but it won't be forgiven if you don't use it properly. So it's planning, and that's where you need to talk to somebody, make sure you understand it, because no matter what article read, you're going to get a different story.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. And so you want to make sure that you have somebody, an expert that understands it and is giving you that advice.
Yeah.
I mean, the application to get it forgiven is an 11-page application you're going to have to submit.
Yeah.
So you need help doing that. And just making, also payroll, you want to make sure all your payroll cycles are flowing in that period. And currently it's 8 weeks, but if they do extend it, that's great. But some people got the PPP the day after payroll ran. And now the way it was originally written was 8 weeks from that date.
Right.
And saying, okay, they might be moving it to 8 weeks to the first payroll, which would be nice. But it's constantly changing, and it's hard to stay on top of it. But
I think that's, go ahead, Sheena.
I agree completely with Jessica. I've advised everyone to go and take the money out, because we don't know how economically this is going to, at the end, lay out. And having said that, some of the most successful people actually utilize this concept of leverage really well. And leverage is getting into, you know, borrowing money at cheap dollars, whether it be the PPP or SBA or business loan or whatever, but having a strategy on how to get out of that situation that you've leveraged. You know, there has to be a strategy of paying back, and it has to be tax efficient, cost efficient. So yeah, I've advised everybody that was eligible to make access, because your business might be fine, but we don't know 6 months from now what it looks like.
And how easy will the loans be to get in 6 months?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Credit
now they're handing them out. Might not be there.
Yeah. This is a kind of taking a left turn, and this is not a question that I previewed with either of you, so feel free to not answer it or to answer it. But to what extent do you think, I mean, every time I talk about money, I'm going to be totally honest and very vulnerable, I seize up a little bit. And here I am facilitating like a Zoom call about money. And I know, because I've done a lot of interior work, why that is. You know, it just comes from worrying that I'm not going to have enough. It comes from, it's very, very layered. And I guess the point I'm getting at is, I think there's a lot to be said about sort of our family of origin, how we were raised, the culture in which we were raised, and whether or not we talk about money. For women, I think, you know, I grew up kind of like in the South, and you know, you don't talk about what you make. And oh, here comes Dan. I'm gonna get to you, Dan. You know, where it's like considered impolite to talk about money, and I've gotten over that quite a bit, I will say, but it's been a process. So I'm wondering, you know, conversely, like my husband grew up with a dad who was very much into talking to kids about money from a very early age, and investing and things like that. And, you know, I went to college not knowing anything about how to invest money or what that meant. And I was thus very sort of scared off from doing all of that when I probably should have at a lot earlier age. So, I mean, do you see that with clients? What do you think about that? I mean, how do you view your role, you know, Sheena, as a wealth advisor and an exit planner and all of the stuff that you do, and Jess, with what you do in tax? Like, does that color how you approach your job?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I talk about the money DNA. It is something you are born with, your house, your family, how they ran it, what they did. Like you said, your husband and you, my husband and I are very different from one another. And the money DNA is not just how you were born, but your early experiences with money.
Yeah.
You know, what you observed, how you felt about money, your experience with it. And then obviously what happens in your 20s also. I go as far as to say, you know, you've got Sheryl Sandberg saying that we lean in and lean in, that one of the biggest decisions we make is who we partner up with. Well, I say that the money DNA also dictates who you marry and who you have a relationship with. It permeates our entire life. So for instance, I'm a spender and a saver. So I'm in the middle of those two balanced. My husband comes from a place where he's always constantly worried. His family is always constantly worrying about money. So they're hoarders.
Yeah.
So all of us, and obviously in a marriage, you know, my way of, my relationship to money differs from my husband. So that's always a struggle as time is going on. He's beginning to trust that my way actually may be healthy. And there are times when I let him have his hoarding sort of mentality with money as well. So we pick and choose our battles. But yeah, when a client walks in, I can see, depending on what year they were born in, what type of family they were born in. So if you were the child of somebody, a parent who lived through the Great Depression, there's a certain type of personality. Baby boomers have a different, my generation has a different. I see that in context too. And I have to navigate that as part of my planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deanne just said bag lady syndrome. Many women have it, which Deanne, I assume that you're referring to like worrying that you're not going to have anything, or do you like
end up on the streets?
I like both. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and I will say, like, I remember when we bought the house that we're in now 3 years ago, you know, I grew up in Southern Indiana where houses cost like a fraction of what they cost here. And I literally had a week where I woke up in the middle of the night being like, can we do this? Can we afford this? Or did they make a mistake giving us this money? Are we going to lose it? Like, it just totally, you know, divorced from the reality actually of our financial situation, but it's just that comes from a very deep early place, you know, so.
Well, and money's a hot topic. I mean, it's a topic that people don't, you know, it's one of those people don't like to talk about a lot. And also people, when they finally, if they haven't been using someone and they come to you, a lot of times they're embarrassed. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm probably doing it all wrong. I'm asking the wrong questions. They're stupid. No dumb questions ever asked. But the worst question is not asking when you're concerned. And my biggest thing is I try to educate as much as I can to that people want, you know, you learn what they want to learn, because some clients are like, do whatever, I don't want to know anything.
Yeah.
But I like to at least have them walk away knowing a little bit more. But also that's where I think Sheena and I both ask the right questions, because a lot of people out there that do what we do just take what the client gives you and moves on. I don't take what my client gives me and assume they knew what to give me, because 9 times out of 10 they're missing 15 other things they should be. And so I think that's where Sheena and I both go the extra step to make sure we really want to know the ins and outs, so that way I can help you. It's not just about your business, it's about your personal life, what your long-term plans and goals are. Who are you?
Call it the sleep at night test. What is it about money that will not allow you to sleep? I need to know that, because I want to be in front of it. One of the worst ways to lose money is to panic and sell it in the bottom of the market. If you had sold on March 23rd when the market was down, whatever, 38% it was, you would have missed this great rally back up again. Now, I'm not saying that volatility is done and we may go down again or we may go up. Nobody really knows. But the sleep test is very important because managing our behavior is actually a great way of guaranteeing or managing a successful financial or tax life, money life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone knows that letter you get, you know, if you get a letter from the IRS and you see it, the panic that sets over you.
Again, clammy.
Freaks out. You're like, oh God. I mean, no one even, like, you read it and you're like, what this means? Halftime, it's not a big deal, you know, but you need somebody that you can just send it off and.
Like you.
Yeah, and I try to resolve them. I know the stress that puts on people, so I try to put an answer to them that day so that way they can go to bed that night.
Oh my God, delicious. Yes. I mean, it's just, again, I'm getting like, thinking about getting a letter.
One thing I wanted to say, not just talking about businesses, but I have a few clients that are just W-2 employees. You know, obviously I have a lot of those. And you said earlier that people are losing money. You know, they still have their jobs, but maybe they've taken a 20, 30, 40% pay cut.
Mm-hmm.
So now their take home each month, I think Sheena, you've dealt with this too, is now they're taking home a couple $1,000s less. Where can they cut and save so that way they can still afford their house and not lose things? From a tax perspective, clients are sending me, once they get the new pay stub, I'm doing the analysis on, you can reduce your tax withholding, adjust your withholdings. And I did that for a few clients and increased their monthly take home by $1,000.
That is a great.
It'll be in refunds. Yeah. But that's something, just because you're not, maybe you don't have a business, maybe you have some stuff happening with your W-2s, or there could be a way where you could take home more if we adjust your payroll.
So I'm hearing a lot of like, check in with your people. If you don't have a person, if you don't have a financial advisor, if you don't have a tax professional, you don't have someone helping you with the asset protection, the wealth protection, the planning, get one. I know two, they're right here. I'll email everyone who's here. I'll email their contact information and check in with them, right? Like check in with them like you check in with your doctor, or, you know, get your teeth cleaned or whatever. This should be part of sort of the rhythm of our daily life. Yes? Are we in agreement on that?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have a ton of time left. If anybody who's here has questions, please feel free. But while you're doing that, what are kind of just some things that you want people to know, maybe something that we didn't cover, or a point that you'd really like to make, and how can people find you?
So for me, I think the biggest thing is, if you feel that there is a gap in, for instance, your finances, whatever it is in whichever part of your life, it's important not to look back and beat yourself up for what you didn't do or what you did do, but just to identify that something isn't feeling good, and to seek out individuals in whatever category of your life that you would like to fix. If it's the financial, find the person that resonates with you, and find somebody who's really not vested in just doing the same old, but is listening to you. I mean, when I went to look for a pediatrician for my son, I wanted someone who, and I went through several by the time I found someone I really liked, but the nuance between them and her is that she actually asked and listened. Yeah. And I like that, because that means I am important to her. My son is important to her. My family is important. So my advice is, stop worrying about what you haven't done. Let it go. Forgive yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't carry that shame on so that it paralyzes you so that you can't do anything. But also, you can consult with somebody and then decide to hire them. You don't have to pay someone. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how little. I have taken people from having so much debt, helped them clear debt, to owning a house. It doesn't matter. There's no shame. We all get into situations and we need help getting out of them. So seek out your people.
And where can people find you, Sheena? Where can they email you?
Westpac Wealth Partners. My email is sheena.sahni at westpacwealth.com. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And I'd be glad to talk to anybody and guide you. If I can't help you, I'd be glad to guide you to individuals that can. I have a great team of people such as Jessica, who actually are there and available.
Awesome. Thank you. Jess, what about you? Parting words?
Yeah, if anyone has PPP questions, SBA, anything, or just tax questions and planning, or, you know, haven't filed your 2019 returns, I'm still getting a lot of those clients.
Never-ending tax season.
It's never-ending tax season. It'll just keep going. But I'm here. I'm happy to talk to anybody. jump on a quick call and just kind of, I'll talk to anyone, may not be the right fit, or you may not need someone like me, but it never hurts to just jump on a call. And like Sheena said, don't be embarrassed of the past, at least focus on what you can do going forward.
And what's your email address?
Jessica@packwestaccounting.com. And
Okay. Westpac and PacWest. I just put that together. That's confusing. I'll send everybody's email out as well. I mean, what I'll say about both of you, I've known you both for a long time, just as, as friends, and seen you and interacted with you professionally. What I will say about both of these women is that they absolutely, regardless of whether you hire them, they want you to be steered in the right direction, and they want to help, right? And so what I really enjoy about both of you is that you are always going to give recommendations for other professionals who do what you do, so people can make a good decision, or a decision that's right for them. And it feels, to your point, Sheena, like you both are always really listening. And I think that's something that Anne-Marie and I talk a lot about when we're doing like business development training, things like that. People have this fundamental need to be seen and heard, right? I mean, and I think frequently in interacting with service providers, you can get a sense that like this person is just here. They're only thinking about like their sales pitch and what they want to say to me to close this deal or get my money or get my business or whatever. And they're not really actually listening. And that is just it's a skill that you both have. You genuinely care. And that's why I'm so glad that you chose to spend this hour with us today, because this is all really great information. And I'm sure we could talk at length about the stock market or PPP. Like we could do a whole hour about that. So I appreciate you guys sharing your insights at a 30,000 foot level. So for those of you who are here watching, I will be sending out an email recapping this with a link to the video, which we're going to house on our YouTube channel. It's just Story Imprinting on YouTube. So you can watch it anytime, listen to it while you're cooking dinner or whatever. We are doing these every Friday. And so next week, we are doing one on small business survival, which if you're here, that, watching the stuff about financial focus, that may be of interest to you. If you check our Story Imprinting LinkedIn, we have all the links to register to that. We're also going to be doing one that I haven't publicized yet, but this will be on June 12th, about imposter syndrome, which is I've done a lot of coaching work, particularly with women, and that is something that comes up kind of again and again with the clients that I've worked with, feeling like you're at the top of the mountain and you're at the top of your game and you went to the best schools and you are kicking ass, and yet you're constantly like, oh my God, are they going to notice that I am like a total fraud? Or, right? I mean, I certainly have dealt with that over the course of my career. And I think it's something that we need to give a voice to and recognize, because we are not going to slay that unless we actually talk about it, and talk about it in a way that's really open and supportive. So keep an eye out for that. And thank you guys all so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Holly, thank you so much for making this platform available to all of us.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you all took the time, and I hope that you guys found it helpful. If you've got questions, you'll have Sheena and Jessica's email addresses, so you guys can just contact them directly to set up a time to talk. But thanks, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for the great platform.
Take care.
Awesome.
Bye.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.